Welcome to the Power of Local podcast. My name is Dan. I'll be your host and guide for today's conversation. And in this episode, I'm joined by...
My name is Diana. I am from Zimbabwe Flying Labs. I've been part of the Flying Labs network for the last 4-5 years.
In each episode, we'll get to sit down with a member of the Flying Labs network to hear their personal story. That is, where they come from, how they discovered drones, and the impact they're making today in their local communities. Welcome. To start us off, where were you born? How did your education journey begin?
Born and bred in Zimbabwe, Harare, Zimbabwe. I guess I started off my educational journey at a small Christian school called Gateway Primary School. I went on to go to the high school, but then a season in our life moved to the UK, where I basically finished the rest of my education.
Do you remember your very first experience with a drone? Like the first time you saw one, you touched it, and then you did something with it? What was that like for you?
I think my first experience was a little toy drone in my backyard, and just getting my hands on the controls those few minutes before it crashed. Yes, unfortunately, I did crash it the first time. But yeah, I think a couple of years ago, probably 2016, 17, that's when I had my first experience. It was a toy drone. But then a few months down the line, moved on to like a Phantom 4 and got my hands on a Phantom 4. Then it was a prestigious drone at that point. But yeah, that was my first experience.
So you started with a toy drone, and then you crashed it, then moved on to the Phantom. How did this humble beginning, let me call it so, grow into the professional journey that you walk on today?
The journey came about when it was no longer, it was more than just, we're playing around with this little toy drone, and really saw a gap in the market and an area of passion where you're like, okay, you have something that you want other people to know about. When my boss set up a company to do services for drones, when we got our training facility, our training school. So I got my drone pilot license, and then a little while down, I got a instructor's rating as well. It's moved from just playing to now being a professional pilot, and also being able to teach people, professionals as well as young people, about drone technology, about the different use cases, etc. I remember when I talk to people are like, "Oh, a drone, the one that's used at weddings." So, like, demystifying it to be more than just the drone that's used at weddings. It's the one that's used for mining, for agriculture, etc. So just broadening people's perspective of drone technology.
And when did you first come across the Flying Labs network? And what motivated you to apply to join the network?
Well, it was really, again, through a national crisis that came about when we had Cyclone Idai. And we had people had come together to help, because we had this equipment and we're like, okay, drones can be used for search and rescue, etc. At that point, when we were rallying the troops to say, guys, let's use the technology for good, unfortunately, we weren't able to deploy as quickly as we wanted to. But in that frustration or research, etc., we came across the Flying Labs network, where there was like a lot of drones for good. At that point, drones weren't a big thing. It was like still very new, still very exclusive. So we're just trying to find a space where we can express and also gain knowledge and understanding on how we can help locals. Because for us, it was like, okay, it doesn't make sense for our government to, or rather our people to be looking for help outside whilst the skill sets are here too. But how can we build on those skill sets to make sure that we're able to actually deploy and help people? I think Nepal at that point was a point where there was a lot of things happening around that space, and we were able to glean off what they were doing. So that's really how our journey began in the Flying Labs network.
Let's talk about impact. Out of all the projects that you have done through your Flying Labs, that is Zimbabwe Flying Labs, I know there have been many, but which one or two that stand out as the most impactful, and why?
I think for me, we trained the national parks, Zim Parks. That was probably one of the most impactful 3 months of training, industry specific training, as well as our civil aviation training as well. So we do the normal training to get the licenses and stuff. But the impact was when our team went out on the ground to the national parks, where they were deep in the jungle, where they were actually able to deploy like the very thing that they were learning in class. They were actually able to do the use cases on the ground. For me, it moved them from just being someone who would have obtained a drone pilot license, but to be actual practitioners of the technology. So they were able to do animal counts. They were able to do to show folly, tree flower follies and stuff like that. So I think for me, it was even when you talk to them now, they're like, we are doing the work. So we've moved from just having from them just being pilots that have been trained to actually pilots who are deployed to do the work. So I think for me, that was really impactful. Another one was STEM. Of course, my heart is in STEM, where we did a camp recently, a Pathfinder camp. We had over 800 kids from at least 40 different countries, including Kenya, including Madagascar, including Bahamas. So that for me was really impactful, because the gap or the knowledge gap is there throughout the world. And it's like, okay, there are areas where we can collaborate with other flying labs. And, there are kids that they went back to their countries and they actually know a little bit more about drone technology, about robotics, AI and stuff. So that for me was pretty special, where you moved the pin from just knowing that it's not just Zimbabwe that you are impacting. It is actually lots of quite a number of African nations that the people have actually now know a little bit more about drone technology. So that was pretty special.
From these projects, or even others that you have not mentioned, has there been a story, a moment, or some feedback from the community that has really stayed with you and reminded you why this work matters?
I think I always share this story. For us, because some of our STEM programs, we take them to schools. It's the time when the teachers come and say, oh, okay, my kids have actually, they start off really withdrawn, especially girls. They're not, fully confident in this whole space of drone technology. But when you get, students, when they start off the first week, they're not really stepping up and saying, oh, I can do this. But when you get the tail end of the training or the course, you have these girls stepping up, taking over, and even their classmates saying, no, you take the lead, you can fly better, because girls can fly better than boys with drone technology. But yeah, for us, it's just observing young girls gaining confidence and even just self-belief, and like, okay, I can actually understand and do this. I can fly a drone, I can code, I can actually speak up. and my classmates listen. So for me, that's been, I guess, the story, and where you're like, okay, that's the tangible impact that you can also see. So it's skills, but it's also confidence building as well, especially for young girls, because they're the ones who are not as represented in the STEM field, in the drone space as well.
What are some of the dreams and ambitions you are still chasing at Zimbabwe Flying Labs?
I'm hoping before the end of the year, it's no longer a dream, but things like drone soccer. For me, that's something very close to my heart. I know our Flying Labs family is really pushing that too, so that we can do drone soccer together and have competitions. So that's one. Also, just pushing the boundaries, research and development, exciting spaces like drone light shows, medical deliveries, things that where people are like, okay, maybe that can be done. But a lot of research and development stuff that we want to push as a Flying Labs. Another area that we are working on and we're trying to get more traction in is disaster risk management for drones. Drones. That's an area where we are working on strengthening capacity with internally, so that we're able to really come up with programs or come up with solutions, especially the rainy season that will come up. We don't necessarily have flooding, but we want to get local players prepared for the eventuality of flooding, and just disaster management as a whole. So that's an area where we are really interested in. And, it's exciting to know, like, South Africa Flying Labs has done quite a lot, and we were involved last year with their disaster risk conference. So we're excited to be part of that again, and hopefully bring in our local players as well to be like, hey guys, let's glean off what's happening in Africa and really come up with standard for the continent, and especially for Southern Africa as well.
With all the projects that you are working on and the dreams you are chasing, how can people support or collaborate with you and your Flying Labs?
Money is a key thing. You know what? There's a lot of areas of collaboration and partnership. It's more of, let's start the conversation. Let's hear what your dreams are. Let's see how we can make it into reality and work together. In all this collaboration, I also want to just commend our Civil Aviation Authority, who are so gracious and open to new ideas, new frontiers. I think that for us has really been something that we can say, okay, Zimbabwe, I think we can move the pin forward and do things differently for our nation because of the openness of our civil aviation. So that for me is part of the collaboration with different people. And for ourselves, give us a minute to tell you what, like for example, STEM will do to the future generation. It'll build skills that are needed, like the jobs that we don't even know exist yet. That's why we want your kids to do drone technology now, so that by the time they hit 18, they're job ready. One, they have skills that are transferable in any industry. I think our tagline is transforming the future of work. The future is now, and we want to build capacity locally to young people as well, especially in the STEM field. We can also build our own solutions as well. Yes, we have like different manufacturers, but the capacity is also here for us to come up with our own solutions for our country.
Thank you so much for listening to the Power of Local podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing from today's guest. This is just the first of very many conversations that you are going to have with over 40 flying labs across Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. There are so many local experts that you still need to meet who are using drones, data, and AI to solve real challenges in their communities. If you like this conversation, follow, subscribe, and share the podcast with others. Bye for now, and I look forward to welcoming you to the next episode.